Have you ever wondered how colonization evolved from visible conquest to invisible control? The conquistadors came with swords. Today, they come with suits and loans. For centuries, colonialism was a brutal game of territorial domination. Picture powerful nations dispatching warships across vast oceans, planting flags on distant shores, and subjugating entire populations with direct military force. The playbook was simple. Arrive with overwhelming power, crush local resistance, and extract resources while imposing a new cultural and economic order. European powers like Britain, France, and Spain weren't just interested in trade, they wanted total control. But maintaining sprawling empires came at an astronomical cost. Military expenses were staggering, not just financially, but also in terms of human lives. As resistance grew and colonized peoples united, anti-colonial movements spread like wildfire. A pivotal shift occurred in 1944 as World War II neared its end. Representatives from 44 nations gathered in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, not merely as diplomats, but as architects of a new global economic blueprint. Here, the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund emerged, like twin stars born from the constellation of post-war reconstruction. Ostensibly designed to stabilize currencies and promote international trade, this system also introduced powerful tools for indirect control. Beneath the surface, these institutions became mechanisms for exerting influence over other nations. So, how do you control a country without invading it? The answer lies in debt, more powerful than any army. Newly independent nations, eager for development, became targets for massive infrastructure loans. Enter the economic hitmen, modern conquistadors in crisp suits who arrive with seductive promises of prosperity. Their strategy is calculated and insidious. They identify vulnerable leaders susceptible to persuasion through ego, greed, or desperation, then offer massive infrastructure loans for grandiose projects. By intentionally inflating economic projections, they set nations up for inevitable failure, creating debt traps that keep countries perpetually beholden to their creditors. These loans become sophisticated channels of systematic corruption, transforming local political elites into willing participants in their own nation's economic subjugation. Multinational corporations soon emerged as the new face of influence. Instead of military conquest, they exported ideologies, standards, and policies. When a country can't repay its loans, the real control begins. Creditors offer to restructure the loans, but only if the country agrees to privatize state industries, cut social programs, or open markets to foreign companies. In effect, a nation's economic policies are dictated not by its people, but by its creditors, eroding sovereignty and democratic control. The stakes get even higher if a nation nears default. At this critical point, creditors often demand tangible assets, access to oil fields, mineral rights, or lucrative deals for foreign investors. In a cruel twist, a nation's wealth is siphoned off to repay loans that primarily benefited foreign corporations. While direct military conquest has become rare, force and political meddling are still tools of modern colonization. Regime changes and political interventions often serve to protect economic interests, justified under the guise of promoting democracy or fighting tyranny. The consequences are stark: a widening gap between rich and poor nations. Local elites grow wealthier, while the general population faces stagnant wages and crumbling infrastructure. Essential services like education and healthcare often take a back seat to debt repayment. The environmental cost is equally devastating. Picture desperate countries exploiting their natural resources without regard for sustainability, all to keep up with debt payments. Perhaps the most profound loss is that of national sovereignty. Imagine critical decisions affecting millions being made not by elected representatives but by international creditors. Today's colonization tools are sophisticated. Economic and social control now operates in virtual spaces where traditional laws struggle to keep pace. We are witnessing the rise of surveillance capitalism, where tech giants extract value from human behavior itself, making data more valuable than oil. The most cunning aspect of modern colonialism is its invisibility. There are no flag-raising ceremonies or military parades to protest. Control is maintained through financial instruments, trade agreements, and policies that appear neutral but are anything but. These systems of control are not static monuments, but living, evolving landscapes where power continuously mutates and resistance adapts. The mechanisms of domination shift from military conquest to economic manipulation, yet the fundamental human impulse for freedom remains an unending dialogue. Yes, the tools have changed, but the essential question remains: who holds the power, and what's the true cost to freedom and autonomy?